Happy Monday, everyone. Welcome back to another amazing week of digital learning. I want you guys to go ahead and take out your notebook and practice along. I would prefer to do this as a Google Meets, but I want you guys to also take notes, so this will give you more time to kind of move at your own pace, all right? So let's start with thinking back to inequalities. I'm sure as I move through these slides, you guys are going to think that you don't remember any of this. Hence our review. So this is not new information, but it may seem new to some of you. That's okay. So let's start with some vocabulary. Here is the greater than sign. I don't know if you guys remember that, but some words associated with greater than are words such as more than, above, bigger. It's meaning that it's more than the given sum. It can be more. Okay. Think less than is fewer, below, younger, what have you. Okay. And it looks like that symbol here. Okay. Greater than or equal to, that means it's just like greater than. However, that number, that integer, could be the same value as the given integer. So whatever possible number we're plugging into that inequality could be equal to whatever integer is in the inequality, but it may also be greater. Okay. Less than or equal to, there's the symbol for that. I want you guys to take note, especially of the keywords for greater than or equal to and less than or equal to, especially minimum, maximum, no less than, no more than, at least, and at most. Okay. Possible solutions, they are integers that can make the inequality true. So if I take a number and I plug it into an inequality, would that statement be true if I read it? So example, if I plugged in 4 into that inequality, I'd read it as 4 is less than 5. Is that true? Yes. So that would make 4 as a possible solution. All right, open circle. That does not include the integer in the inequality as a possible solution. And I will talk to you guys about that a little bit later on, okay? Closed circle means it does include the integer as a possible solution to the inequality. And again, we'll address that in a second. Here's a helpful summary chart. You guys can pause and copy them down. All right, so helpful strategy is when you are crossing out, like listing your inequalities, cross them out as you go. You'll see to the right here, we have less than, greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. I like to list them and then cross out the possible options that cannot, it wouldn't work. Meaning if it's saying more than, it couldn't be less than or less than or equal to, right? You'd have to choose between the greater thans. And then here's a helpful little image to the right with the two alligators. Remember, the alligator always wants to eat the bigger possibility, okay? Whether that be the variable or the given integer. So here's an example of how to write an inequality. It says I want to make more than $5. So I like to do some sort of thought process and walk myself through these. So the first thing I would say is that this means I want to make $6, $7, $8, etc. I want to make more than 5. That means it's increasing. If it's increasing, it's got to be greater than. So this is where it goes to our helpful strategy where I would cross out the less than signs. Can't be those. So it'd have to be one of the greater than signs. So the other question I want to ask is, would I want to make $5? If the answer is yes, then it would be equal to. If the answer is no, then it would not be or equal to, okay? In this case, I don't want to make $5. I want to make more than that. That means that I would use the greater than sign. All right. Next example, I want us to try this together. It says no more than 10 people can board the boat. This means that there can be 10. There can be 9 people, there can be 8 people. There can't be more than 10 though, right? That's the maximum, and that goes back to our vocab from that first slide. So they're decreasing. You'll notice 10, 9, 8. They're decreasing. That means that it's less. It can't be one of the greater than symbols. So then you ask yourself the question, can there actually be 10 people? Yeah, no more than 10. 10 is the max. So that means it would actually include 10. So we would have that bar in the less than sign. Okay, so x is less than or equal to 10. Now I want you guys to try this problem, pause the video, and then play when you're ready to hear the answer. All right, so once you've completed that, you guys are checking your answers. It says you need to be at least 54 inches to ride Goliath at Six Flags. That means that someone can be 54 inches, 55, 56, etc., right? I'm so sorry, that should say that is increasing. That actually should be greater than, okay? But could you be 54? Yeah, you need to be at least. You can be 54, but you got to be 54 or more. All right, so that inequality is actually x is greater than or equal to 54. And again, guys, that is my typo here. This should say increasing. You'll notice it says 54, 55, 56. That's our pattern. It's actually increasing, getting greater. Okay, so we would read our inequality as x is greater than or equal to 54. All right, so now we're going to graph. We're going to graph the three inequalities we just wrote. So our first example is x is greater than 5. So what would that look like? So you're going to ask yourself first, would I have an open or closed circle? If I have an open circle, that means there is no or equal to bar underneath that inequality sign. If I have a closed circle, there is a or equal bar at the end of that inequality. So in this case, since it's only greater than and not greater than or equal to, we're going to have an open circle. And then you need to ask yourself, what direction would the arrow point? Meaning, where would the arrow represent possible solutions? So let's look. Here's our number line. We always start at the integer given. In this case, it's 5, since it's already simplified. We're going to have an open circle, and it's going to point to the right. If you guys look at your inequality sign, there was a way to think about it that helps me at least. I like to make a little arrow, and it shows me which way the arrows should point, okay? So again, if there's no bar at the end, it is an open circle. And this is pointing to the right, meaning any number to the right of 5 would be a possible solution, meaning 6, 7, or even 8, okay? All right, so now we're going to try this one together. What would it look like to graph x is less than or equal to 10? So ask yourself, open or closed. So let me go ahead and annotate this. Since we have a bar, that means it is less than or equal to 10. That means I would have a closed circle, and it says what direction would the arrow point? Remember, I like to go ahead and make the arrow, and it's any number to the left of 10, right? Those numbers are less than 10. So at 10, we've got a closed circle. That means 10 is a possible solution, and it's any number less than that. And you guys can refer back to the writing solutions problems or writing inequalities problems and verify if that is correct, okay? So I want you guys to try this one. Once you're done, you can click pause and then replay and check your answer. So what would it look like to graph x is greater than or equal to 54? So you're going to ask yourself, open or closed circle. Since it is or equal to, I'm going to go ahead and say this is a closed circle. I've got this symbol here. So it's closed, meaning 54 is a possible solution. And I'm going to ask, what direction would my arrow point? So if I draw my little arrow, it's actually going to point to the right, meaning anything to the right of 54 is a possible solution. So I start with 54, closed circle, anything to the right. And that would be 55, 56, etc. And guys, that makes sense because if you go back to the inequality and you took 56 and you plugged it in for x, and I read it, 56 is greater than or equal to 54. Is that a true statement? Yes, it is. All right, so what happens if you have a variable on the right? Okay, so I would still read it the same, but rewrite my inequality with the variable on the left side of the inequality sign. So here's an example. If I've got 2 is greater than x, if I rewrite it with x on the left and the integer on the right, I would have x is less than 2. Do you notice how they are saying the same thing, but just as their opposite? 2 is bigger than x, but x is also smaller than 2, right? They're kind of like opposites. And remember, if you want to think about Pac-Man or the alligator, I like Pac-Man. Pac-Man wants to eat the bigger number. So when you put the variable on the left, notice Pac-Man still wants to eat 2. Okay? We want to make Pac-Man happy. Same case here, negative 3.5 is less than or equal to x. In this case, our inequality sign wants to eat x, that possible solution. So when we put x on the left-hand side of the inequality sign, we still want our Pac-Man to eat that possible solution because negative 3.5 is going to be smaller than that. All right, and our last example, 5 is less than x. So if I rewrite that, I could also say x is bigger than 5, okay? So again, you can still draw your little Pac-Man. Whoa, that's a messed up Pac-Man, that's okay. And you'll see that he still wants to eat x, okay? All right, guys, so what I need you to do is go to eClass. You're going to see that there is a practice quizzes. You're going to enter your class code, and I want you to try to make a mastery of at least an 85. Preferably more, but 85 is the minimum, okay? Good luck, and let me know if you have any questions.